Podcast starts at 19 seconds.
So I know the podcast screen looks a little plain. I messed up and I lost a template. So we're going to deal with this for a couple of episodes until I have time to make the new one. Welcome to a new episode of Fit the Description, a Black Men's podcast where various Black men come together to talk about life, society, entertainment, culture, news, and whatever else we want to talk about from various Black men's perspectives. I'm your host, G, and today we got Adam.
Yo.
And we got James.
I'm just trying not to get sued.
So as usual, on your way in, make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Make sure to check out the Clips channel, Fit the Description Podcast on YouTube. We're also on various different podcast platforms. We're also on Rumble. Shout out to Rumble. I've been seeing y'all watching our podcast. We definitely appreciate it over there. And if you just want to hear me ramble every week, if you could catch me, you can check me on Rumble. And we're also on Twitter, although we're not on there much, but I do post basically just things that I get from people who hit me up and repost it for like links and stuff. So if you need like some kind of help, some college stuff, whatever, so we usually repost that stuff over there on Twitter if you want to check that out. Yeah, and beyond that, yeah, we'll get started. Just so you know, we're actually going to do this a little bit differently. You know, I know I'm hosting it, but I'm actually going to kind of go back, and we're actually going to let Adam host this episode and pick some of the topics. So, Adam, man, go ahead. What are we talking about today?
All right, today we'll talk about the topic I see in last week, I believe it was. It was the video that was on Dr. Umar Johnson. Mm-hmm. And he was speaking with the Daily Wrap-Up crew, I think it is. About a topic. It's a two-part for him. I like Dr. Umar when he comes on, and I don't agree with everything he says, but it's interesting some of the things he says. And, a lot of the times you always learn a new topic or a new piece of information on something that you might already know. And it's always good to, get another person's, view on it. And his view is always interesting. But like I said, a lot of things I see his point, and some of the things I'm just like, I don't necessarily agree with you, but that's just two different people. But yeah. So anyway, the part that I was interested in, I know I've seen the first part, but it's more so the second part today. It came out about 8 days ago. And it was basically him going in and speaking on how he views Black America, some of the things that we need to do. And one of the topics that, a lot of people are discussing right now is like, femininity and feminism and, basically taking responsibility. And his view on it was different, and as I was listening to him, I'm like, I understand what he's saying. And again, like I said, some of these things I agree with what he's saying with, and maybe it's just the way he put it, but some of the things I don't necessarily agree with. But it's good to have a different perspective, a viewpoint on that topic. So I don't know, has anyone seen that video for the part 2?
I saw a little bit of it. I didn't see the entire thing. I don't even know if James knows about it, but
Do you know about it, James?
I'm just here not to get sued.
Well, I can if anything happens, man, your alibi. You was here with us speaking the entire time. I didn't hear no noise in the background. I just heard you talking, which that's a pretty good alibi. But do you have you not heard, but have you seen any, not just this one, but any of Dr. Umar's videos or interviews that he may have done?
Yes, I've seen plenty.
Well, let's just start there. How do you guys feel about those?
I mean, I guess I'll start off by saying, if you want to know my feelings on Dr. Umar, some of the stuff he says, I agree with him on basically a lot of Black issues and a lot of Black things, but I definitely have my disagreements on him. I'm not the biggest fan of him. I don't think he's bad, but he's not the best. He's not one of the main guys I listen to on a daily basis. But when he pops up, I tend to listen to what he says from time to time. But yeah, for the most part, he's kind of like a whatever guy to me.
All right.
Yeah, he's cool.
I I I agree with you guys on that. I feel like, he if there are more voices in the Black community, that's good that we have him. I feel like he is more one of the more focused ones, um, for various reasons. And I would like to hear other people that, have viewpoints similar or different than his, but just to the point that they're, on a platform that's similar to him, that's more so in this area and not so much in like in the entertainment industry, in a way of saying, and not saying anything against anybody, but it's kind of nice to have a different perspective, from someone that's not in this typical field, that may have had more studies in a more in the typical area that he's in, instead of like just here. And there's nothing wrong with that. Again, you can be in the entertainment industry and be widely knowledgeable about a plethora of topics, but at the same time, it's like, okay, well, you are in the entertainment industry, and like these are the topics a lot about. These are the topics that some things about, but it's not like this was your area of per se study. Like, this is what you go out and do, how you earn your money. You earn your money a little bit differently, so you're more focused on those different areas, but it's something that I am starting to look into more of, and see people that is similar in this area. um but it's just nice. It's just nice that you have a different voice. I think I started listening to him back in 2017, I think it was. It was like I was at work and I was just listening to the Breakfast Club as I was working. And then that video came up and I was like, oh, okay, I don't know. I've never heard of Dr. Umar before. So I just started listening. I'm like, oh, this is new. This is something new that I don't really hear a lot of or even get, but I like this. And then it just went from there. And I don't watch all his videos, but every once in a while, at the time I was watching, I guess I binge watched on a lot of the videos that was up. And like you said, he doesn't post anything on YouTube, but it's like other people who post it, so it's not his official like YouTube itself. But it was good just to get information on the on what he was talking about, and where he comes from, in the sense that he was that is what he talks about. But yeah, it's this specific subject is interesting because he goes in on a good amount of different topics. One of them, will have to do with marriage and dating outside of the Black race, which is, everyone's going to have different opinions about. But I will say that, not necessarily agreeing with what he's saying, but it is some of what he's saying is true when it comes to that. Like, a lot of people, a lot of races outside of the Black race, they tell their children, you're gonna want to have kids with another Asian. You're gonna want to have kids with another um, uh, Caucasian. You're gonna want to have kids basically with your race. And they're not saying that you need to, but they push that. And from different sources, from what I read and what I was told and how I grew up, I specifically see that one thing that is true is what he was saying, is that a lot of races outside tend to say stick with your own. And not saying that they're like, oh, don't bring this person home, but like, this is what I want, this is but within the Black culture, it's more so like, love is love. You're gonna love who you love. You're gonna like who you like. And it's a little bit different. Like, if you grew up with that mentality, or someone telling you that, and you've seen the world different, like, you won't necessarily understand or see exactly their point of view, when they say, like, it's better for you to marry another Black person, within the community, and all I get, I fully understand, like, no one's going to be able to really relate to your struggles and issues that are going on in the world, unless it's specifically another person that's within the same race as you, then they can fully understand, and within the same area. But if you are a black man and you marry a white woman, then it's different. Like it's not saying that they don't see a struggle or they can't understand an issue, but it's more so like when you get down to the nitty-gritty of it, it's like they don't comprehend what is actually going on or the mental situations and issues that you are facing when you go out in the world or at work that they might not see or face. It's just going to be like, well, I did this, so why can't you do this? Or so and so did this, and he's another black man. Why can't you do this? Okay, well, no, it's different. You don't know so and so's story. They're only telling you, for face value, maybe a little bit more, but you can't sit there and say you understand because you don't understand what it was like for my my ancestors, what they went through, and then where we are right now, and still what we're going through. Although the world looks like a better place, you haven't went through those same struggles I did growing up, or had to learn the same lessons I did growing up. You not saying you got a silver spoon or anything, but you necessarily just didn't have to, because of the color of the skin or just because you are who you are, and it's nothing against you. It's not saying that, it's just like you just don't fully comprehend it on that same level as another black man or black woman would understand it. You just understand it from outside, not inside. You guys have anything to add on to that?
Um, I guess just to shorten, I guess your question is it okay to be in an interracial relationship? Is basically what you're asking.
Well, I mean, like you could answer the question, yeah, but then I was also asking if you guys had anything to add on to what I was saying, like, agree to disagree, or, like this is what you have or you see, what's your personal opinion on it?
Well, okay. Let me see. How can I say it? So with being in an interracial relationship and being with somebody who doesn't understand what you go through, I hear a lot of people go through that problem. Like that's been said a lot of times. I know that yes, even because even I did interracial before, and yeah, a lot of times when it comes to cultural stuff, they don't really understand, and most people really don't understand. Anytime you deal with race stuff outside the race, they normally don't understand till it happens to them. It's really hard to understand other people's culture when you're not in there. You can maybe understand it to a point, but you really don't get it because you're not really part of that culture. It's like me when you explain to me being illegal. I get it and I see the issues there, but I can't really understand because that's not really a problem that I face. Now, with that being said, when it pertains to I guess a relationship and dating outside your race, I mean, I think in my personal opinion, I mean, every relationship is kind of like each their own. I don't really look at it as like if I was to date outside my race, I'm worried about like you like understand my culture. I think that as we link up and as we grow in our relationship, that we kind of figure out our own standards and we build our own family in the way that we feel is best. So so to me, when it comes to a relationship, I don't think about those kind of things. Will I say that there's some complication, there's some understanding issue? Something that I talked about with B a long time ago where he is right. When you don't have a son or there's a chance, I'd say, we have a child that's mixed race. They're depending on what side of the race on, they may have a kind of you may have a hard time with relating from time to time. But again, like I said, I don't really have a child. I don't have a mixed race child, whatever. So that's hard for me to speak on. Um, so, but I would say just to me, when you're in an interracial relationship, I don't really think about that. I just think about, we're in this relationship. You're my woman, I'm your man. We're here to build this household together, and we got to make it work. Like I don't put the when I'm looking at a relationship, I don't like I said, I more think about, my our happiness and like the household dynamics, not really, everything else. That's outside of the relationship. When I'm in a relationship, I care about what goes on in the relationship. To me, those things are two different things, but it could create a complication. But that's about what I can say.
I did date outside my race, of course, when I was younger and everything. It was just different people. It was just who it was. Like, if I had an attraction, I had an attraction, and that's just where it went from. And then I understand, G, what you're saying. Like, our family dynamic is different from the outside dynamic. But it is slightly different when you view these things. It's Everyone is different in what they want in a relationship. You might want someone who can identify with the same issues or struggles you went through so you can come together and figure out what to do. You might be fine with someone who doesn't understand and you teach them to have a better understanding of it if it's outside but basically you just want someone who's able to identify with you and who you are as a person. But sometimes, it's an issue where it's like, okay, well, a situation happened and not really much need to be said. Or, sometimes arguments come about that, like, a person just full isn't able to understand. And I'm not even fully just like, well, I don't get it. Like, and that's really, they don't get it. And it just goes from there. And you try to make them get it. You try to tell them, you teach them, you show them. But, sometimes some people just don't fully get it, can't really understand. And it's not nothing against them. It's just that they didn't have to grow up the same way you grew up. Like for us, like have your parents ever had to pull you to the side and tell you, how to act a certain type of way when you get pulled over when you're speaking to the police? Have you had to act a certain type of way when you're in front of a certain group of people? You know, or just change the way you talk or change the way who you are, how
You
you
talk about
present
the you
yourself.
talk about the talk, right?
The talk, yeah, the
Yeah,
talk,
the talk. Yeah, yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think every black person in America goes through the
has to
talk.
go through yeah.
Yeah, we all
And
go through.
and it's I'm not saying that other cultures don't have something similar or go through it, but for the most part, you don't get that talk. Someone from Mexico who comes over, they might have an understanding in a sense of a version of that because they're not from here. They're going to be looked at differently, discriminated against just because they have brown skin and they have an accent. Then all of a sudden it's different for them. Same thing with when the police pull you over. They might be asking for like extra information or talking about you from Mexico and stuff like that. And it's just like um, what did you pull me over for? Can't we talk about that? Why do you need to know where I'm from or, my family or anything like that? So different people have different versions of talk, but, there are some people that don't need to have to talk at all. So it's kind of like if you get pulled over with that person and they're in the car with you and they're like, what did you do that for? It's like, what do you mean? It's like you talk different, you sound different, like you're a totally different person, when you just talking to him. Like, what was that about? And they might, what's that word they call that? When you know what I'm talking about?
Say what?
When you change like the way you talk and how you present yourself, like in a just like that, real quick, within the snap of your fingers, you just change, and then you change back after that.
What? I might be
There's
wrong,
a
but
word for it.
I might be wrong, but it's not called code switching. Is that what it is?
I think so.
Uh,
I think so. I think it has a couple different things, and I think that code switching is one of them. But yeah, like that, So it's in in general, you're just like you have to code switch. You can't be who you are because if you are who you are, then that creates a whole bunch of problems. Or you just getting pulled over because you're driving and you match the description of every other black person out there and they pulled you over because you're driving a nice car. Or you have your windows down or you have your music up a little louder. All of a sudden that's an issue and you get pulled over for that. For someone to be able to relate to the same situation that you went through, like, oh, okay, I understand. Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's some bullshit, versus someone who's just like, well, I don't understand. Why'd you do that? Or, no, you should be able to know who you are. Watch this when they come back. It's like, no, you don't understand the history. You don't understand the reason why we have to do these things to prevent any type of situation that may happen or could happen. You don't want to be the next person that, got shot while you're in the car because you're just, you are who you are. Like that happens. And, that's another thing that people can't fully understand. It's just like, well, they was reaching for, what were they reaching for? Were you there in the situation? Like, it's all here, it's recorded, and you can clearly see that he's doing nothing wrong. He's complying. He's asking a question, and then it just went south from there. Or they came up on him with guns out already. For what was the reason for that? Outside of the fact that he was blind. Please, you want to talk to me about that? And then sometimes in these situations, like I said, you can understand it or it's not understood, but friendships can be lost, relationships can be lost just because of misunderstandings or not being able to fully understand or accept. It's those type of situations. And it's, if you're in a relationship with another person who's outside of your race and they understand or they, you guys have your own thing, okay, that's good. But for some people, like who Dr. Umar was saying, this is one of the things I don't agree with when he was saying it, was the fact of the matter is just like, if you date outside your race, you are not for the Black people, you're not for your people. You're technically not against them, but you're not for them. And it took me, I still have a hard time grasping what he meant. Like, I understand, but it's like, you can't just say that somebody isn't for their people just because they date who they date or they like who they like. You can like do everything you can for the betterment of your people, to try and put them in a better place, to try and just increase their, the situation, just do it. But all of a sudden, because I'm attracted to, so and so, I have to go look for this type of person and force myself to be attracted to a type of person because that's what's going to make it okay in the eyes of the Black community or in the Black community that's within the area of you. I don't agree with that. That's ridiculous. Like we're well, and on top of that, we're in America. Like it's different if we're in our home country. Where it's like everyone else, like you're gonna have other people out there, yeah, but like when you go to your home country, this is what you have. These are all the people there that look like you, that are you. Some of them talk differently or do different things, but they are you. Here in America, it's a mismatch of people, from different cultures and backgrounds, an amalgamation and a combination of different cultures and backgrounds. So, it's that on top of that, that's what makes it different on too when it comes to like dating outside your race or, in that retrospect. So it's to me, like I said, I understood what he was saying. And, this is where I would like disagree with him, agree to disagree in a sense, I guess. But you can't just say that you are for the people or you are not for the people, because your personal belief is this, and you're pushing that personal belief on the whole of the community. It's like, this is what it has to be. If you don't do this or you're not this, then that's that. But still, in that same retrospect, pushing some of the things on your people would be a positive thing. But in regards to like who you build a relationship with, that's not. I don't agree with him on that.
Well, it's about keeping the culture alive. That's, I think, what he's arguing.
Well, see, this is where I would argue against that because with one of the podcasts we had earlier, when we was talking about like, do we in America have culture? Do we have Black culture? And I, for one, I said no, we don't. I don't believe that we have a culture out here, and that's my personal opinion for the matter of it. Like people can be like, well, we have culture, we have this and we have that. And it's like, well, yeah, we do have that, but that doesn't mean that, we have a culture, and then the argument comes to be that, well, when we was brought out here, we had our culture taken from us and forcefully, like we had to have that slave mentality, that slave culture, and then we built upon that to have our own culture. And this is like, okay, in the sense, yes, but also in the pure sense, in my personal opinion of culture, no. It's a different type of culture. It's a culture that was forced upon us that we did the best that we could in the situation where we were able to create some things and do some things. But our culture is Africa, well, from Africa. It's I was talking about a situation, not this specific one, but more so like of God and everything, right? So we're out here. It's 2023. and majority of African Americans are Christians, if not like Catholic, or maybe they believe in Allah. But that's basically what they believe in. But it's like, okay, well, what do you know about your cultural gods, your African gods? You know, that's not spoken about. That's not talked about. What's talked about is white Jesus, or Jesus being a black man, but it's Jesus in general. We had a religion forced upon us that still to this day that we accept and we take, and that's just what we are. In some families and communities, it's like, if you don't believe in Jesus Christ, Christianity, you have some family members that will put you out of the household, some family members that will don't talk to me anymore, you're excommunicated. It happens. You really do have people like that. And although people be like, well, you can believe whatever religion you want to believe in, that doesn't make you a bad person and everything. That's correct, it doesn't, but it makes those who deal with you take appropriate action how they would see fit. They may excommunicate with you. They may not talk to you anymore because you don't believe in this. Our cultural gods were demonized because, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what's this and this. Here, this is the Bible. This is what you guys have to study. This is what it is. If you don't like it, then we're going to kill you. Back in slave days, that's just how it was. If you got caught practicing your own religion from, your own religion, then you were either killed, you was tortured, you was beaten, you was whipped. It can go on. You had food taken away from you. What little food they did give you, you had. It was a bunch of things that could happen depending on the person who owns you. So fast forward in this day and age, when if you were to go and ask somebody, an African American about, hey, what do you know about, your cultural gods? What do you think they're gonna say? You know, honestly, what do you honestly think they would say? What are some appropriate answers you think someone would say?
Well, actually, I had to switch and ask a question to you because of what you said. Sorry, but like I had to ask a question since you want to talk about religion and cultural paths. Um, oh, sure, we just lost James, but it's fine. Maybe he'll come back in.
Okay.
Yeah. So when you talk about religion, you talk about cultural paths. First, I gotta ask you, what is your religious? Do you believe in anything? Are you religious? And if you are, what would you consider yourself?
So I would have to go back in history for that. I am religious. I do believe in that. Do believe that there's a God or gods. And I was raised in the Christian household. My whole family on both sides were Christian.
Okay, but what are you? What are you specifically?
I I guess I'm Christian by default, but I don't willingly accept it. And then that's not trying to be like, well, you have to have accountability and accepting something.
Well, if you
It's
don't accept it, then you're not Christian. So do you? So it sounds like you need to go through
See, right there, you see,
self-discovery.
that's what I mean. That's what I'm talking about. You
Well,
need to know what I am. You can't accept the answer. I mean, saying this, it
well,
has to
no,
be a
no. The
black and
the
white
problem
answer.
with no, it has to be because that's how religion is.
See? Yeah.
I'm about to explain to you.
But you're saying
I'm
what
about to
religion is,
no,
but religion is different for each and every person.
I'm about to explain to you. The problem is it's when you do that, and that's kind of the problem. I see what's happening now that everybody's just redefining religion to fit themselves, and that's not how religion works. Religion is not something that's made for every single body. Like religion has certain guidelines, rules, and certain things that you're supposed to
Wait,
align.
wait, I'm gonna stop you right there.
Go ahead.
That's what you're bringing in, that you're bringing in what you're saying, or by pure definition, a
No,
religion
that's what it
is.
is. No, that is what
That's
it is.
what that's what you're saying it is. But if you were to
No,
go
no, no, no,
talk
no,
to
no, no, no.
somebody,
That's exactly what it is. And I don't care
no,
what
it's
anybody.
not
That's
exactly that.
exactly what it is. That's why you
No,
have.
there is
That's
no black and
exactly
white answer when it
it.
comes
No, it
to
is.
religion.
It is exactly
It may
this.
be to you, it
No,
may be
no,
to another
no, no.
person, but
That's
if
the
you
no, no, no,
personally
no.
ask
That's
me,
the problem. No, that's the problem. That is exactly the problem, because people want to redefine religion to fit them and their own rules and what they believe it is, and so you can't really call yourself religion. It's okay if you say you don't believe in certain of the religions, but no, you cannot change religion to fit you. That's not how it works. That's not how it works.
how do you think Christianity came about?
No, but again, there are different religion and different religious practices. Yes,
There
but you
are
can't.
different, yes,
But
but
you
how do you
can't.
think it came
But you
about?
can't. No, that's not even what I'm saying. The thing is, you can't sit there and say this is Christianity works. This is how Christianity is how it works for me. No, it has certain guidelines.
Okay.
To not be respectful of those guidelines, no matter what religion you're in, to not be respectful of those guidelines, that basically means that no, you're not religious, or you're living in blasphemy. Yes, every religion. I'm not saying that you necessarily have to be Christian or Catholic or believe in God, but all of them have names because each one has certain guidelines, so you could find a desired result. If
See
you go,
that, but that's like saying, which is true, this part right here.
Mhm.
All Catholics, no, all Christians are Catholic, but some Catholics are Christians.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. That's not true.
No, that's not what you're saying, but that's in the sense of what it is. Because Christianity is Catholicism was there before Christianity. But in this day and age, now it's considered underneath this umbrella. Back then, it was separate. It was this, or this, and that
No,
was it. But now
no,
it's
no,
an
no, no,
umbrella.
no, no, no. There is an umbrella, but there are subsects, and each subsect has different rules and guidelines to fall behind. So yes, I like like there's a difference between being Catholic or Christian or like Methodist and Jew or even like Muslim and
Wait, no, you're jumping into other
I'm
religion.
not
You was
jumping.
fine. You
No,
were
no,
jumping.
no, I'm not jumping. I'm trying to explain to you. I'm trying to explain to you. The thing is that the point is, depending on what you fall under, those have those certain guidelines. So yeah, each of those I can't think of the word. What is I can't think of the exact word. But basically, each of those different practices had different guidelines to fall behind. You can't just sit there and say, "Well, this is my Christianity." No, Christianity has certain guidelines. Now, you may not be Christian. Now, you could be Catholic, and you may not be Baptist, which is fine. But they still
Now,
fall in guidelines. You can't just say, "Well, this is my Christianity," because in that sense, that's why you right now I could watch a clip, a girl saying that God wanted me to do OnlyFans, which I'm like, that is BS. That is
okay, that's BS. Number
yeah, but
one,
that's my
well, just
yeah, but that's my point. You can't just redefine religion for yourself. You need to find
but
what
I'm
you
not trying to redefine religion. What
that's
I'm trying to say is that all I'm trying to say is that for a large amount of African American culture, we are Christian if we don't fall into Catholicism. And I do,
oh,
forgive me, I forgot the religion of Allah, which is why I said Allah. But for the
that's
Muslim,
Muslim, yeah.
for the Muslim religion, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, that's because now if we was in the Middle East and Muslim was the, primary religion over there, we might fall underneath that. But we're within our home country, and that is one of our home religions. There are other religions if we wanted to be in there, but that is our home religion. Here in America, which is an amalgam, mixed match of different of everything, right? But you what I'm trying to say is we fall underneath Christianity, one, because it was forced upon us from death and a whole bunch of other things. And having that going forward, as human beings, we all look for a higher power, like, except for if you're atheism. But even then, as I was saying, like even if you're an atheist, you don't believe in a higher power, but you still believe in something. You believe in science. You believe in facts and science. And until you see proof yourself, then that's going to be, left field and everything. But for Christianity, for Christians, gee,
I'm
did you
listening.
grow up? Did you grow? I'm sorry, I didn't mean it like that. I meant like now I'm going to ask you a question. Like, when you grew up, was it religion in your household? Was it Christian or was it a different religion?
Okay, so if you want to ask me, I grew up mainly Baptist is what I fall under line, but I also grew up around a little bit of, even though I'm not perfect, I haven't looked into it in a very long time, but I also looked into Buddhism too, because my entire life I always say there's three things that you'll always find in my household, and you'll always find these three things in my household. You'll find African, a Bible, and Buddha always in my household.
Yeah, I can agree. I've seen that in your household, so I
Yeah.
definitely agree with you. Now, you went into looking into Buddhism a little bit later on in life because it was interesting to you. You wanted to learn about it, right?
Well, it wasn't that. It's just it was there, and I wanted to kind of again. I haven't looked into it in a while. Like I forgot about it honestly.
No, no, we're not.
But
We're
no,
not
no,
asking
I
about
know.
the
I'm not.
practices.
I'm just putting it out there just so people ask me, like, well, do you know this? Like, it's been a very long time.
Oh
But
yeah.
I want to say I looked into it when I was. I didn't look into it when I was older. I actually looked into it when I was younger. I only got the idea was because my friend, well, my best friend's dad at the time, what he used to do, he was a Christian, but he practiced Buddhism. And he
Hmm.
said what he would do is that he would practice Buddhism for so he could be a better Christian. So he would apply certain Buddhist traits and apply it to his faith. Is what he would do. So that just gave me the idea
So
to do
wouldn't
that.
that be against Christianity rules in the Bible because you're practicing different beliefs from a different religion that has a head of a different God?
No,
And in the
because
Christian Bible, you're not supposed to praise any God except for me, for I am the one and true God.
okay, yeah, you didn't hear what I said. He
You
said
said that he practiced
he
different
practiced.
things so he can become a better
Yeah,
Christian.
so he
But
applied that
the
he
but the
applied.
base of it,
Hold on, you gotta let me finish. He
sorry about that.
applied he applied the things they learned in Buddhism into the Christian faith. So basically, it's not that he's praising another god. He's just taking some of the things and some of the lessons that apply that he could apply to help him be a better Christian. So it's not that he's
But
no
you
because
can't do that.
yes, you can because again, like you said, you can't put another God before me. He's not putting God another before him. He's applying certain things of Buddhism that he could utilize in Christianity to become a better Christian. That's what he's doing.
But he went to another religion, regardless on whether he did or did not look into the God. He went into another religion that has different practices and they do different things. Now he took that and became a better Christian. So that's
Exactly.
good for him.
Yes.
But he still went to another religion to get some of their practices. That
Yes.
is the base part of that.
No.
So
Well,
what
no, no.
he
What
did,
you said. Remember what you said. What you said was you cannot put another God before me. That's not what he did.
he, but I said regardless if he did or did not, he went to another religion. The Christian religion, like you said, has its own rules and regulations,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't follow those to. I won't necessarily say to the T because
Yeah.
Christianity has a lot of um,
Yeah.
they're willing to accept certain things,
Yeah.
but he didn't follow it to the T. He
Yeah.
didn't take the practices in the Bible to apply them to himself to
Yeah.
make himself a better Christian. He looked to another religion to take those practices to make himself a better Christian. So in doing that, although he says he's Christian, it can be argued that he is not Christian.
Yeah. If you're going to be under something, doesn't mean you're under that denomination because it's kind of like, for example, what is a big argument is what's it where they call what's it Methodists where they can marry multiple wives. I don't really know the details in that, and most
Isn't that
religions
what
what
is that? That's in
no is
isn't
that
that in Utah?
yeah that's it's big in Utah.
That's um oh my God. Isn't it two of them? It's like one of them that you do practice that where you can marry multiple wives, and the other one is like you can marry multiple wives and have multiple wives, but no, it's not. I'm thinking of the Amish. You have the Amish, and then you have
Yeah,
other the other one. I know what you're talking about. The name
yeah,
escapes me too.
yeah. But so that's kind of my point of like when you sit there and say, Christianity, like for me, like I don't think I would consider myself Christian anymore. I consider myself more spiritual. I don't like to say spiritual because I don't mean spirituality into in like in a way of I believe in the spirits and all that stuff. It's not really that. It's just that for me I lost faith in man. So that's why like for me like I'm not really, it's not that I'm not big on church. I mean me personally I'm not big on church because I just don't have, I just lost faith in man. So that's why like for me I'm not really big on the church anymore. Not I can't say that. I'm not against the church. I just don't have any trust in man. So that's why I like to say I don't really have a name for it, so I like to say I'm just more spiritual now. Like I still believe in God, Jesus Christ, the Holy Ghost, and all that stuff. I just don't trust in man to deliver me that message anymore. So
So it sounds like, and I'm gonna get back to me too, but it sounds
yeah,
like you're spiritual, but you hold Christian beliefs.
yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
See? that's fine. And
Yeah.
what I'm saying is that you can you can classify yourself as something because you are spiritual. You hold spiritual beliefs, whether it's one or another, but you
Yes.
hold spiritual beliefs and you not necessarily practice, but primarily you would follow the rules of a specific or certain religion and apply that, not fully, but apply those rules and regulations to your own spirituality to get to where you're going or to get to have what you have right now.
Yeah. So and so I
So
just want to clarify. So 'cause I think that's kind of what you're saying, and that's kind of like that's kind of more my point. What I'm making is that when you like call yourself something, you're supposed to be kind of like defined by the rules. It's okay not to be that. That's why when you say the things of like, oh, our African gods, or like you don't know, it's I want to say that you're really Christian. You may follow underline those belief system, but it sounds like to me it sounds like you're almost at the point where you need to go on your own little spiritual discovery right now, kind of figure out what your belief
well,
is.
see, no, we're not talking about me. We're talking about what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that
Hmm.
I grew up Christian in a Christian household.
Yes.
I, by fact, and I'll get a little bit onto that a little bit more. And if someone would ask me, what is your religion? Like,
Yeah.
I could say I'm spiritual because I am. But
Yeah.
if they were asking me what my specific religion is that I hold practices I know more about, that I, follow the rules and regulations if I was just out there in the world, it would be Christian. But that I felt like that was forced upon me because it was forced upon my family and ancestors when we was brought over here and stripped of our culture and our religion and told this is what you have and this is what you will do, and if you do not, then you will die because I will kill you. And that was that. Now, in this
Okay.
day and age, I feel like not even this day, a little bit before, more so like internet or library access, we should have been able to been like, okay, well, we have Christianity and this is what we are by default because of family. I go to church on Sunday, I read the Christian Bible, but I want to be able to now understand who my gods were, not
And,
even saying like what your specific area was in Africa, but just to study them. Now you're still not another religion now. You're trying to understand your
I would actually argue that because you keep saying what my gods are.
I'm saying when I say my gods, I'm saying that in the sense of like I'm not saying that African gods are my gods. I'm saying my gods because I'm African. Like what my cultural gods are, where I come from, where my
Yeah, but
lineage is from.
no, I get what you're saying, but I would argue it's like if you didn't believe, I get what I get what you're saying, just for the sake of argument. The fact that you would even still sit there and say my gods would sit there and say it's like I don't know if like for example, if I want to learn about gods, like for example, if when I learn about mythology, I don't sit there and say these are my gods. I say I'm learning about like the gods of mythologies. So that,
Yeah,
in my
but
personal
that's
opinion,
because
in my personal opinion, that phrasing in my personal opinion, when it comes to religion, is kind of problematic.
well, I feel like I gotta also accept it because I am African. I am African American, but I'm African. So when I say like I said, I'm still Christian by base, but these are the gods that my people were raised upon before they was taken. I don't know who my gods are when coming from the African descent. I would like to know, and I have the
And
ability to
and
know
I would
because I have.
and I would still argue you saying my gods is still problematic.
Well, why do I have to say what God in the one in that is in one?
But like I
I have
said,
to say that.
yeah, because I mean, if you truly still believe in God, then yes, it's only one God. There's no other my gods. If you want to say, I'm interested in what my ancestors, learn about and like their religious practice and what they're about, then that's fine. But when you go as far as to say my gods, in my personal opinion, it's like nah. I will argue like that's a little far.
I can see that, but I
Yeah.
don't have no problem with it, like using it in that type of way. It's
I,
and I understand that for other people, like you said, for the sake of argument, you might question, well, what gods or what God do you worship now, instead of just talking about it in general. So I'll just say I'll try and just say the gods of my people, like you were saying.
Yeah,
But the gods of my people who they worshiped in the past before they was taken.
yeah,
All I know now is, Christianity. And I know that falls underneath, it's an umbrella because it's different religions with Christianity and different ways of worship. Like you said, Methodist,
yeah,
and a couple others, but still Christianity.
yeah.
Now, that was forced upon the African Americans, and even then in the early 1900s, 1950s, religion in a sense is used as a way of, it's like a way of not only a higher being that you believe in, but it's a way for humans to, you know, I don't want to necessarily say that who's responsible for it, because we're responsible for our individual actions, but who's responsible for making us the way that these things are, to put us to make our situation better, that would give us let us understand things that we don't fully understand, in that type of way. But it's at some point, did anyone just think that, well, my religion was beaten and killed out of, my people's religion was beaten and killed out of us? Do we know who my people's gods were? And why do we put such faith in Christianity when Christianity was a religion forced upon us? And Christianity, in retrospect to all the other religions, is a new religion in the first place. All the other, not all, but a lot of other religions have been there thousands of years before Christianity was brought about. Christianity was even thought to have been a paganist religion, in the time of Jesus Christ, when there was already people who knew somewhat about it, but he was the actual person who brought to bring it to where it was.
I
So,
mean, I would say pretty much all religions when it began was paganism and stuff, depending on.
well, yeah, I definitely agree with you with that,
Yeah.
because there is some, and then when you look at it, even a lot of the gods from the different religions that we have, they
Hmm.
stem from either one another in a different variant form, or they demonize another religion to make their religion look better. For example, in paganism, you have the god Pan, who is a half man, half goat. He is the god of the land, of the earth. Now, in Christianity, you have the devil, and the devil takes on different appearances, with the one he's most likely known for is two. Well, he was an angel, and then he got cast down the earth to hell, and then he became the devil. Then
Yeah,
he
Lucifer.
became what he looks like. But they would they would take an image of him being like either a red being, an ugly human being with like really ghost-like wings, if wings at all. And the most well-known one that all people know the devil to be is a half man, half goat.
Well, I mean, it depends, but again, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I kind of want to rewind a little bit. At the end of the day, when it comes to religion in general, it's based around faith, because even that story, it's changes depending on what you listen to. So, like for example, some people, which I looked into, they say the devil and Lucifer were actually two different people. And but just over time they combined the two, so they're not one person. They're actually two. They're actually two different beings.
And you're right. You are
Yeah.
right on that.
Yeah. So the thing is, what religion is basically, what it is basically faith based. Like there's not really, there's no logical thing to it. That's why I said, like, the kind of the way you sound like you're talking right now, it sounds like you're starting to get to the point where you may need to start looking in, because it sounds like you're starting to question things in Christianity, your belief system, which is fine. I mean, I'm not saying that's
Well,
wrong,
see, I'm
but
gonna stop you on that.
mhm,
It sounds like that, but I'm just talking in the general aspect. But see, that's another thing. If
mhm.
we talk about it, then it sounds like I'm questioning things, and I'm just having a general conversation about it, about the history, about what comes to be. If you look into the what's that book called? The lesser. evil, or I think the lesser the devil. It's a 3-book part. The what is that called? I'll bring it up right now. But it's the book from King Solomon.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
about you know what I'm talking about all the demons, the 64 or 108 different demons,
Demons,
and
yeah, yeah. I don't know about
yeah.
that.
So in that's considered to be part of not a religion but part of religion, which gives you the description of each of one of the demons and devils in hell.
Yeah.
And taking that piece of information, you can apply that to the religion of Christianity as a whole and not just a separate ones.
Well, not always. So like there's a lot of things. Like there's a reason why there's like certain books or certain like chapters. So I wish B was here. B would be because B be a lot better on for this conversation right now. But that's why like there's certain books and stuff that they take out the Bible because they say that some of those books that are taken out, some of that stuff can be actually applied. Like if it's applied, it kind of confuses thing when it comes to the Bible. Last I checked, I'm
But
not
see,
too sure about that.
why are they trying to? It's not. Or I'm sorry, I didn't mean to sound or accusations, but
Go ahead.
over the years,
Uh-huh.
over all these years since the Bible came out,
Yeah.
the Bible, the Catholic Bible, right? You've had different versions of the Bible. You've
Mm-hmm.
had different books in the Bible.
Yeah.
Some kept in, some taken out, some revised. These are all done by man, But the original book was, which I can't even say, it's just the original Bible from way back then, the original way that it was.
Yeah.
Then you have all the demons and the devils that's associated that they would, not all of them, but a lot of them, they would speak about how they look, what they did in the Bible, and then they revised it, and then they keep revising it. And I'm not saying to this day and age they revise it. I'm not saying
No,
that. I'm just
no, they have. I mean, what you call it? I think what's in older Bibles, if you could find one, I can't find one, but in older Bibles, they do have in the text where it's like, what is it? To be a godly man, you got to be good to your master. A good slave is like a godly man, or something like that. I forgot how it went, but that
mhm.
was in what's in the Bible back in the day. So, and I wouldn't say that's recent, but that's a recent altering that they did.
You're right, and you're right on that too. I just didn't want to say recent because honestly, I really don't know the last time that the Bible was revised or they did something in the Bible. I really don't know that. But I just know, I
I
think
think
we
that's the
all know
last
that they
time.
have.
Yeah, I think that was the last time. Now I
But
think about it.
but it can be said too that there are probable times when it was revised or things done that it wasn't necessarily told to the masses because just like you have within the Vatican, the people who are the Pope, the people who are ahead of it, they do things behind the scenes. Not saying that those are evil things. I'm just saying that there are things, decisions made behind the scenes that we aren't aware of, and there is
I don't.
history and information there that
Uh,
we aren't able to access, that only certain people only to access, because in the simplest way of saying it, that what we may read or what we may see may boggle the mind and confuse us, like you were saying, and then that would lead us to question our faith. That is a possible answer, and that is a possibility that they have answer that they've came to. Now, that's all I want to say on that specific subject. I just have to get that out.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll just add this in real quick. I mean, it's the same thing with what you call it with monk temples because monk temples have a lot of scrolls and stuff in there that nobody can see unless you're in there. Some of them you can't even read because if you read, they just fall apart.
That or the language barrier on top of that,
Yeah, I mean, even like when you talk about the original Bible, the problem with the original Bible, last I heard, nobody can even speak the language anymore.
Isn't it like somewhat Latin?
Yeah, it's like Latin or something, but it's like yeah, you can, like most people can't even read it. Like the original Bible, it's like you can't even read the language. That's
Oh
why some
yeah,
people
yeah.
question the Bible itself. It's because you can't speak the language of the
Yep.
original one.
And then the leaders of the church, not the leader, but leaders of each individual churches,
Hmm.
it's if you get a good leader, you get a good leader. You wouldn't really know unless something came about where it was told or shown to you. Okay, now this is what this person's been doing. They've been misrepresenting, misinterpreting the Bible. They've been taking funds. They've been it's fraudulent things like that. You won't know unless it actually comes to light.
Yeah.
But I'm not trying to stick on this topic of religion. because I feel like, it's going down a rabbit hole. We can talk about this all day.
Yeah.
I just wanted to basically just say that, you know, interpretations of religion can go across all religions. Certain demons, devils, angels, prophets that can be interpreted across all religions in a different way, whether it's a different name or maybe they look different, but they hold the same power and they have the same, in a sense, beginning. Like all religion, there is the beginning, the middle, which is kind of like what I would say what we're in right now, at the end. Like that's just how it is. Now, and some of them have it where you have a heaven, you have a hell, or their version of it. Some of them have it where like you just go to another place that's just similar like this, and you just live on that plane, or depending on how good or bad you are, you would go like the Egyptian religion and the Buddhism religion, or I think Hindu, one of the two. Or in reincarnation going into that too, but each one is different. So I'm just saying that when we came over here, and I'm pretty sure that there are African religions out here and there, they're just not as prominent because Christianity, Judaism, um, I don't want to say I like, I keep feeling I'm being
Muslim.
disrespectful. Muslim, thank
Yeah.
you. Muslim, Buddhism, and Hinduism. Those are some of the five top, if not six top religions.
I
Then
don't know.
it just goes into
Okay,
from there.
I don't know if I want to put that because I don't know if that's true.
I'll say that's true because I did look it up. Those are the top religions when you look into it. And then within those religions, it breaks it down into like its own branch. Christianity has Methodism and everything like that, breaking it down into the branch, but you're still this. You're still underneath that umbrella. And then, the same thing goes for a couple other religions. But those are the top religions in the world. And I think Christianity holds the most,
Yeah,
but
Christianity is the
Christianity,
most. Yeah.
Christianity, in the sense, Christians are the second, and the first are Catholics in that umbrella, which is still over all the top five. So that's
Yeah.
how that would go.
But hold on, if you talk to some Catholics would okay, I don't want to go too much into this, but some Catholics would say that they don't consider themselves Christians. So
Yeah, so but that's individualism on that part right there. And you don't have to consider yourself Christian, but although if you actually speak to like one of the higher churches, if and it's they devoid their personal opinion, Christianity, all was it some what did I say they were? All Catholics are Christian, but some Christians are Catholic. That's why that goes that way. And then even though Catholicism was here first, it's kind of funny how when you say Christianity, it's within that subject now, isn't it?
yeah, okay. I just want to see where you go with this.
No, that was it. That was it. Like I said, it can just go down this whole little rabbit hole and everything. And I'm not trying to go down that rabbit hole, man, because that is a very I don't think I don't even think it has an end to it. I think it's just unending. Everything
Okay,
like
well, so
some
then
people
goes.
might question like the Book of Enoch, for example, like, oh, that's not a real book, but that was like, well, I mean, it's a real book, but it's up to you if you want to personally believe that it's a real book within the Christian chapters, Christian books, if you want to, or not. We'll just leave that alone for an example. That's all for an example like that. But
Okay,
I know
but
we get off the topic of the.
yeah. What's
Oh,
your
go
original
ahead.
topic?
Sorry.
What is the point of bringing all this up?
Yeah. It was just the fact that the matter that you see, Christianity was something that was just forced upon us. And I'm not saying, if you are Christian and this is what you believe and you want to believe in, that's fine. That is your religion, our religion, my religion. That's what it is. But I do believe that you would be doing yourself a personal disservice if you did not look into the original religion from of the people from which you hail from, or the continent from which you hail from. And that might be a little bit of a struggle, seeing how Africa is such a large continent, is the largest continent, that, you have different versions of the religion out there, and even to say, that's not even to say that, you know, my where I hail from, my religion might have been the Muslim religion, just because it's in Africa. So that's all I'm saying. It's like, do you know your original people's religion? Christianity's religion that was forced upon you, that you might be willing to see as your personal religion. Yes, but what is your people's own religion before Christianity was forced upon them, or before they was taken from Africa and forced into slavery over here?
Okay. Well, I had a response, but I'm not gonna go into it because we'll go through another deep hole. But yeah, I mean,
I do want to say one thing though, G.
but
That religion portion right there is not necessarily something that was spoken about by Dr. Umar. That's just something that I was coming up with as like a people, as we as a people. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
yeah, I mean, I'll just say this last thing. I mean, to me, religion is kind of based on faith. So, if you believe in what you believe in, I mean, you shouldn't be questioning things. So if you're questioning things, I think, in my personal opinion, like I was saying, like I think if you got to question things, or if you haven't found a place of peace, you might want to go through your own little journey if you need
But
to.
see, why can't you question things? You're not saying that you're not you're using Christianity for an example right now.
Mm,
It's not saying that you're saying that I don't want to be a Christian, or I want to see what other religions are out there necessarily,
mm.
or even say it's just questions. Like, if you had questions, would you not go to your pastor and ask questions?
Yeah, but it would probably still stay within like the faith and within the religious
Within,
branch.
yes, but
Like
if he
if I'm starting to ask questions outside of that, then yeah, that's a whole entire different thing.
well, you
I'm
can go to your pastor and you can ask the question, more so being like, Pastor Smith, when you was younger or before you became a pastor, did you ever look in this? I see that you're African. Maybe you have African roots leading back to Africa, or maybe you come from a different area where Africans were at prior. But did you ever think about your homelands, your where you hail from, your religion there, and maybe before you was Christian or do it a Christian, and you was just like, well, I'm a Christian because this is my faith, this is what I believe in, and I know for a fact, it's like, oh yeah, yeah, I did. You know what? And this is what I learned. I found out this, and this. This is the religion that my people's practice and everything. But when I researched or I studied it, or even if I went to a meeting, I found out that this isn't for me. This doesn't sit right, or I can't believe in this. It just doesn't call out to me. And this is when I knew that for a fact that I was Christian, that this is what called out to me, and that this is also something that I wanted to be a pastor, the praise of,
Well,
like, I feel like,
I'll say this. I'll say this. I just want to say this. Me personally, if you're asking questions like that, even when it comes outside of religion, I don't know. I personally don't know if you're, especially if you're trying to question things, if your pastor is the right person to go to, because he's going to tell you things to kind of keep you within the religion and within, I can't think of the right word, but he's going to speak to you in a way to keep you in the religion, and probably say things that are blasphemy, whatever. But he's not going to always answer your questions. So that's the one thing
but
I
and
would say
that's
is the issue with doing that.
That's what that's why I was saying, when you're questioning, like, if you can go to your pastor and ask who you're supposed to be able to go and ask these questions to, and it's just a general question, because you usually ask these questions when we're young, because we're trying to understand and figure things out,
Yeah.
because our parents won't always tell us this. Sometimes our parents are like, this is what you are, this is what it is, point blank, period. I feel like pastors are more like explanative. They're explaining more. But if you can't get it from the pastor and you still have the questions, then
Well,
what's wrong with question, asking question, not question, but asking a
no,
question.
because it just comes to a point where you go too far in your questioning that you're going to have to just start looking for it yourself, and you got to go through your own discovery. And the
It's not.
problem,
I don't want to say it's a discovery though. Like,
it
what
is
makes it a discovery?
because you're going outside to try to find questions and answers that you most likely don't accept from your pastor or from people within that religion. So you're going
Well,
outside. You're going outside that base to find the answer that you're looking for.
yes, but that's only because the pastor can't answer or can't give you the resources to look in the right way. A
Exactly.
pastor, a pastor is going to, regardless of, and I don't want to say true because I feel like when I say these words, it's like so much meaning. But a honest to God pastor
Mm-hmm.
will look at you and they'll understand what you're asking, or maybe they'll ask a couple questions to get a better understanding of it. Now, the pastor, just like it says in the Bible, you're supposed to lead your flock, yes. But if
Exactly.
your flock has questions and you can't answer those questions because you honestly don't know, you're not supposed to keep that person there. You're supposed to let them make the decision on their own. Because
Yeah,
at that
agree.
point, if you make it for them, you're forcing them, which goes against the Christian belief. At least now in today's day and age and everything,
Yeah.
um, you're keeping them against their will, or the pursuit of knowledge. If you want to learn it, that's one thing. If you want to learn it to get a better understanding, that's a different thing, But the pastor may or may not be the first person you ask, but it's your best case of asking because he's going to know most about the specific religion you're in, but
Or
he's
he
also
should.
going to be knowledgeable. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah,
He
you're right,
should.
man. He should, but he's also going to be knowledgeable about other religions. And sometimes that may be just underneath the umbrella, like Catholics and other things. But in other cases, just like they study to be a preacher, and you go to school for that,
Yeah.
or you're self-anointed preacher, which you have to go through a board and answer these questions for, you're going to have classes upon other religions so you become knowledgeable of it because that's what your job is.
Yeah.
So if you don't know, hey, you don't know, and you just let them know. I believe you can go here, you can go to the library, the internet's always open, but I believe what the best thing to do, the pastor may say is when you find the answer, why don't you come back and we can talk about it? Something like that. But it's not really saying like you're questioning, your faith. You honestly might just have questions because they teach us in school all the time about slavery and everything else, but they don't. And I know that religion is separate from the school, yes,
And it
but
should be. But yeah, keep going.
as it should be. But this was forced upon us, and that's something that they don't talk about in school. They just
Because you
leave
have
it
to,
alone.
yeah, because you have to separate from schools.
You have to
And that,
separate the two, but
yeah.
that's part of the history, isn't it? The history is that Christianity was forced upon African American slaves, just like Catholicism and Christianity was forced upon Native Americans. And well, that's a different story right there. But in the same way, where they sent the kids there, as a way to try and get them integrated within American society after that whole process. But during that time, people were abused, killed, and a whole bunch of other things, and that's neither here and now, here and there. It happens sometimes still to this day, but that's part of history. That's not just saying, okay, well, this is religion, so we won't teach this. No, the history of it is that this is what happened. You're not going into the lessons of 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 um
No, I know.
of religion.
I get that, but the problem is that's way too gray of an area because you definitely don't want to have that conversation with a kid's parents talking about, oh well, your religion was stolen and now he's questioning Christianity, his whole entire faith. That's the problem. That like I get what you're saying, but to me as an educational institution, I think that's questions a little too gray for that to be taught in schools. I would probably I mean personally, I think I would leave that alone. I think that's a good idea because
That is a subject,
it's
but
too
it
gray.
could be just kind of like how sex ed is. Like some people don't want their kids knowing about this, some do. And I feel like
Well, I
it's
mean,
something that should be taught in the school because
I
you're
don't I
actually
don't
teaching the
I don't
history.
think I don't think that should, because that could be a very big factor in changing a kid's belief system. And I think that's a little I wouldn't want to. I don't.
You know what? I'll agree with you on that. It
Yeah,
is. It
yeah.
is a big factor.
Yeah, like
But you know
like
what?
when I was in school, like they taught about Jesus, but they didn't teach about Jesus in the way of religion. They just teach it in the way of just history, like his as a man in history. When I was in school,
They didn't even do that in my school. What they
they
did
didn't.
was they spoke about the times, and then they spoke about, like, how crusades happened, and they spoke about how a certain amount of people died because they believed in the religion Christianity during this time, and they
See,
spoke
I
slightly on it, and then they
yeah
went forward. But they didn't ever actually spoke about Jesus themselves.
yeah I know like yeah
themselves.
I know history class I took they spoke on Jesus, but not necessarily through the religion, but just the person, like his importance when it came to religion, basically, but not really like
But you
the faith
see,
and none of that stuff.
that can be a little bit going, in that same direction. If they're willing to talk about one thing within religion within a certain amount of time, why can't they talk about another when
be,
it had to do with the slavery and what was forced
because
upon the people?
because talking about it in a history sense, as you know, he was an important part of history. It's very different from having to talk about that, which may have a kid question his fate. That's a little bit
You
different.
know what it is? What I what I believe
It's
it
the
is
same
too.
thing. It's the same thing when I was also taught about Muhammad in history, but not like the whole entire religious practice. Just that he was a dude who went around and was preaching stuff, but nothing. But we didn't go into details or nothing.
I believe
Just that
that
he
it
was a
has to do with the
victor.
time too, because that happened so long ago, and then slavery and everything that happened within slavery happened not that long
Mm-hmm.
ago, in the sense of saying. So I also have to believe that it has to do with time and timing. But while some parents will say, okay, some parents will say, no, that's wrong. Just like with what was that? There was a thing in the news where it was a teacher who showed them a video. I think it had to do with um it was a Disney movie, and I'm not talking about that new one that had to do with the boy that ended up being gay and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's not that one. It was a different one, and the teacher got reprimanded for that. And then when they held when they and then it was a parent who was saying something, and then the school district charged the parent for questioning the authority of the school when he was asking a question. Now, but talking about this, I'm sorry.
No. It's cool because
Going
I mean, if you want to keep going back on topic, we can. But if you want to go deep into like my issue with censorship, I have no problem with talking about that. I have an entire
No,
rant
no,
ready.
because I wanna try. You see, I'm trying to stay on topic now more nowadays
Okay,
instead of
yeah,
like
fair enough. Fair enough.
you know.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
But okay, so I know what I was talking about, and I know we kind of got off topic with the religion thing, and then now with the school. So I'll just leave that alone. Um, I'll leave that alone. We'll go on to the next topic,
All
and
right.
we'll just leave that alone.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Bring up the
Um,
next topic, man. What's the next topic?